What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Merry Christmas Eve, I guess. And if I don't post a video tomorrow because I'm busy doing things and such, I don't have anything pre-recorded. Merry Christmas to you as well. I love you guys. Anybody who sees this, shout out to you. Today, though, we got a couple of new cards. We got a card that came out last night, early this morning, and a card that came out like 2 days ago, a new Scourge monster of all things. What a random card to get, but it kind of reminds me of like some of the aliens in like Hellboy, or some of the demons, I guess, from Hellboy, the newer movie. Not a great movie. Not a great movie, but did have some creatures that look like this thing. But we'll get to that afterwards. We'll start with the new hand trap. Ooh, hand trap. Konami's going crazy. We're going to get into it. So, without further ado, let's start off with Bahartia, the Sky Piercer of the Light. He's a level 7 light dragon effect monster with 2,000 attack and 2,400 defense. So, pretty decent, You could tribute summon this card by tributing one effect monster. Okay, seems kind of weird. Like, why not just make it a level 6 if you can tribute summon it with one tribute? Like, what's the point? But whatever. First effect reads, and the second effect's a hard once per turn. First effect reads, during your opponent's main phase, if your opponent adds a card or cards from their deck to their hand outside of drawing, and this card is in your hand, you can activate this effect. Immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon this card. Okay, so that's pretty basic, right? Like, if your opponent adds anything to hand except by drawing, okay, just tribute summon this card immediately. Quick tribute this card. Okay, fair enough. Next effect, if this card is normal or special summoned from the hand, I don't know, maybe via tributing itself during your opponent's main phase, just a thought, you can activate this effect. Your opponent banishes the cards from the top of their deck face down equal to the number of cards in their hand. Then, your opponent shuffles their hand into the deck, and if they do, they add the cards banished by this effect to their hand. Okay, so I think the idea here, plain and simple, the idea here is you want to quick tribute this guy on your opponent's turn, and you want to do like a pseudo Trickstar reincarnation kind of effect, but not nearly as good in my opinion. Okay, the idea here is you let them search something specifically, hopefully with a hard once per turn search card, then you put like you pretty much just cycle those cards out of the hand, right? You're just saying like you search something you specifically wanted, and I'm just saying that goes back in the deck. I guess you have a chance to redraw it, but hopefully not, and then you swap for something else, hoping they draw a much less useful hand off of that. Now, there's a lot of problems with this card. First and foremost, it needs to be tribute summoned. If this card just said special summon, this card would actually be somewhat interesting to me. Right, like, because he would jump on field, he doesn't have requirements, he's good on turn 1. The problem with this card is, like, it's 2020. If you want to be a good hand trap in 2020, you got to be able to do something turn 1. And he tribute summons himself. If you don't have a monster on field to already tribute all for him, like, how are you getting him on field? And so that's, I think, the biggest problem. And then any turn after turn 1, how big is your opponent's hand going to be? If your opponent's hand isn't that big, then this guy's really not nearly as useful. And the other thing is, like, Trickstar Reincarnation just banishes those cards from their hand. They're just banished. They're just there now. And then they redraw a new hand. So if they had hard, like, one of bricks or whatever, that, like, stuff like tuners for Halky Fibrex or something, like if they played like Colt Wing or Despot 001 or something, boom, you hit that out of their hand. That's pretty good. You just limited the ceiling of their deck. And hurt their grind game by potentially banishing 3 ofs, 2 ofs, like just one copy of it does take away one copy. For something like Eldritch, it's actually pretty good because you're just taking away those cards. They're not able to grind as long as they otherwise would, right? Whereas this guy doesn't even get rid of the cards. They go back into the deck and then you just swap it out for new ones. So I think overall this card is just like rough. It's honestly really rough. But what is interesting is his name. Right, he's Bahartia, the Sky Piercer of the Light. It makes me think that maybe this could be the next Gizmex, right? Like, we got a Gizmek for every attribute, and they're all different levels. Maybe he's just the first one and he's light, and maybe we'll get like a dragon for all the other attributes, and they'll just kind of do the same thing as they did for Gizmex and just work their way through all the attributes. So maybe this is just kind of the tone setter for what we can expect from maybe more of these like I don't know, elemental dragon guys. I think he's a cool design. I don't think he's like good at all, unfortunately. So yeah, I'll leave that there. Let me know in the comments what you think on this guy specifically. It's too many. Like, you have to tribute him, and he doesn't even like permanently banish anything. He just like cycles a hand. Whatever. Okay. Now that we have that out of the way, let's look at the new Scourge monster that I actually do think is a little more interesting than the other guy. This is Scourge Sidhurs. He's a level 6 Earth Fiend effect monster with 2200 attack and 1600 defense. He cannot be special summoned, period. Period. That's actually pretty big for him. First effect reads, if this card is tribute summoned, you can apply one of these effects based on the type and attribute of the monster or monsters tributed for this tribute summon. If you tribute one light fairy, you can add a light fairy or dark fiend monster from your deck to the hand. It's pretty generic, just searches any light fairy or dark fiend. Not half bad, I don't hate that at all. And the other effect is if you tribute a dark fiend to get him on field, potentially a little easier, especially with stuff like Burning Abyss, like just special a BA, tribute summon him immediately. You can send a light fairy monster and a dark fiend from your deck to the graveyard. So I think that effect is kind of spicy because you get to send both, but I still don't think it's like unless we had a specific archetype where light fairies and dark fiends worked, like it was like almost like a chaos designed archetype where it's like specifically half the archetype is light fairies, specifically half the archetype is dark fiends. Maybe they mesh like that and obviously needed graveyard synergy, then maybe that effect's actually worth. But I just think overall these effects are not bad. Obviously they're good effects, right? Adding any light fairy or dark fiend, it's a pretty good generic search. There's a lot of good light fairies, a lot of good dark fiends, and same thing for the second effect because you get to send both, not just one or the other. I think the problem is that he can't be special summoned. You got to tribute summon him to get these effects, and that's going to be the tough part, is because you have to specifically open an extender without normal summon, and then commit to him. And if he does get negated, you're probably going to be in a pretty tough spot because you had to commit at least 2 cards out of hand just to put him on field, and you're out of a normal summon at that point. So I think it could be a little tough to really make good use of this guy. I think his effects are good should he resolve, but I just think what goes into making him resolve, having to build your deck around him, and the amount of like kind of like full send you have to go just to like go into a route with this guy, it kind of leaves you open to like any one disruption, and that's kind of brutal. But overall, I do think it is a card in a very specific archetype that could be pretty good, but we'll obviously have to see if that ever comes to fruition. But still kind of fun that they decided that like randomly in 2021 we're going to be getting a Scourge monster. Such a random card to make. But I dig it. So overall, that's what I'm saying about these two guys. I think they're both not quite good, not quite good enough. But who knows? Maybe there's some other interactions I'm not aware about. So definitely throw them in the comment section down below if you do know anything about these that you think could be interesting or cool that I'm not thinking of here, of course. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said at the beginning, Merry Christmas, or Happy Holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas. I love you guys. Peace.